Ask me questions.
Well, first of all, what is your full name?
Emma Louise Ryan
And your maiden name?
McDowell,
And you were born when?
January 6th, 1923.
And you're how old today?
I am 89 years old.
And today is February the 21st, 2012. So what we wanted to do with this series is just talk about some of your earliest memories. So first of all, you were the youngest of how many children?
11.
And you were the youngest.
I was the baby.
Okay. Do you remember the names of all of your siblings?
Yes, I do. Starting in order. Then one next to me was Lydia Nora. Then Mary Magdalene. And then there was Clyde, my brother Clyde. And there was my brother John, my sister Catherine, my sister Ruth, my sister Helen, my brother James, and my sister Margaret. The oldest brother, Francis, died when he was 14 months old. Is there anybody I forgot?
I think you've got them all. Tell me about your parents.
My father was a coal miner, and he met my mother. He was passing her house. They were jumping rope, and she ran up on the porch to cover her bare feet. She didn't want him to see her bare feet, and that is how they met. I don't know how old she was when they were married, but he was non-Catholic, but that didn't seem to matter. He took the children to church when she was pregnant or sick. And the priest would always say, "I'm going to get you yet, Andrew." And he would say, "Not today, Father, not today." But he did become a Catholic 4 months before he died.
Now, he passed away when you were how old?
2 months old.
So you really have no memory of
I
your
have
dad.
absolutely none other than what my sisters and my mother told me. And it seemed like he was an avid reader and sports person. He loved to swim, he loved to play ball. But when he would read at night, there was always the older girls hanging over his shoulder. And Mom reprimanding them, telling them to get to bed, get to bed.
Now, his name was?
Andrew.
Do you know his middle name?
No, I don't. I'll
Okay.
have to look it up.
And what was your mom's name?
Priscilla Louise. Lily.
Okay. And her birthday was?
January 6th.
So you were born on her birthday.
Yes, and she would bake a big cake and a small one on top every January 6th.
What are some of your earliest memories from childhood? Oh, first of all, where did you grow up? Where was home?
Home was 205 11th Street, and our neighborhood had Scottish people, Polish people, Irish people, Slovenian people, Italians, Greek. We had the whole League of Nations, and our street was the only one that was paved. It was concrete. It wasn't a tarmac or anything. It was paved. It was concrete. And 5 houses down, there was a trolley car that ran. And when we were very, very tiny, and our parents didn't know about it, we would put straight pins across them on the track, and we would wait until the train went by, and we'd run and get our little scissors, because by this time they were mashed into a little minute pair of scissors. And there was a blacksmith shop right on at the 5th house, right in the back, and my godparents lived there. Their name was Dolan. They had a blacksmith shop in the backyard. I don't remember too much about that at all, but I do remember they had a green grape arbor that we would go and sit in the swing underneath and filch the grapes. We would grab the grapes.
And you said you lived on 11th Street. What was the name of the town
Windber.
and the state?
The state was Pennsylvania, a coal mining town,
And it's close to where?
close to Johnstown, where there was a huge flood, close to Pittsburgh. It was just a little tiny burg down between two mountains.
Do you remember the mines?
It was the Berwind coal mining company,
Is that who your dad worked for?
and that's who my dad worked for. He was a driver. He drove the men into the mine and brought them back out. But he got tuberculosis from working in the mines. Our big excitement would be if there was an injury at the mines. We would run to the closest mine if that's where it happened. If a man put a pick in his leg or something, we would run after the emergency squad and watch them put the man in the vehicle. That was big excitement for our day.
Well, I know Kristen is here, your youngest granddaughter, and she wanted to know what it was like before television, because in 1923 they didn't have television. So growing up, you didn't have TV.
We didn't have TV, but in the wintertime, we would ride great big toboggans down a hill. And you'd get maybe only 3 rides a night because it took forever. Once you rode down, it only took seconds, but it took forever to get back up. That was in the wintertime. In the summertime, we read books. We went to the library and got books. And we played jacks, and we played tag, and we played with all of the children in the neighborhood. Another thing we did in the winter is we got barrel staves and skied down this field with these staves tied to our shoes. They were boots. And we used to ice skate on the little creek that ran through our town when it was frozen over. And one time, a girl was sliding down on cardboard and the ice broke, and she was sitting in freezing water screaming, "I'm drowning, I'm drowning," and the water was only up to her ankles.
What do you remember about school?
School, I loved school. My first grade teacher was my sister-in-law, and her aunt was principal of the grade school, and her older sister taught 5th grade, and I had all 3 of them. Her name was Helen Reeser, and she eventually married my brother,
Which
But I
brother? Which
love-
brother was that?
James. I loved school. I never had any problem going to school.
Do you remember the name of the elementary school?
It would be Windber Elementary.
Okay.
And before school every morning, my mother cleaned out the Eagles Hall, the FOE, and she would give me a penny. I would go with her, and she'd give me a penny, and on my way to school, I'd stop and either get a Tootsie Roll or a peppermint patty. And I'd eat that by the time I got to school. School was only a block and a half away from where my mother worked.
Where did you stop for the candy?
Right across the street. I can't remember the name of the store anymore. It later became Butterbaw's Hardware.
So what was your favorite class?
I guess it must have been English. I loved English, and I liked the nouns and the sentences. I hated arithmetic. I always had problems with math. And the only reason I passed that was because people that sat beside me were very good at math.
Kristen, do you have any questions?
Did you ever argue with any of your siblings?
Did you ever argue with any of your siblings? Did you guys get along? or-
Oh, we always argued. There were always jobs to do. And my one sister knew that I was afraid of the dark. And I'd be drying the dishes and putting them in the drawer. She'd always wait till I got to the silverware part. And she would be the one washing, and she'd be finished first. And she'd run out and she'd turn out the light. And I would be so afraid putting the last things in until I could run out the kitchen door and know that I was safe.
Which sister was this?
And this was Liddy, Tilly, both of them. They did full tricks on us. And another job was weeding in the garden. Everybody had to take their turn weeding until I got a rash on my elbows, and the doctor said no more weeding for her. So I got my revenge on my sister. I could be sitting reading while she was weeding. We had a great big grape arbor where we played underneath it. And we had great big patch of rhubarb. And we would break off a stem and use that as a fan. Sometimes we would take the salt pepper shaker and go in and eat the tomatoes in the garden if they were nice and ripe. But we always had grape, we always had fruit. And we had chickens in our backyard.
Did you use those for the eggs, or did you use them for chickens?
We used them for chickens.
You ate the chickens.
We ate the chickens every Sunday. We had chicken, and we had a chocolate cake. That was every Sunday, roast chicken.
What else did you have with the chicken? What was a Sunday dinner like?
Yeah, a Sunday dinner was mashed potatoes and gravy, chicken, and always green beans or some green leafy stuff.
I was wondering, did anything special happen when you were a kid that you always remember as well?
I'll always remember when I had to go to the hospital because my bone in my left thumb became infected. And they had to do surgery, so I had to stay in the hospital. Back then, it was like 5 or 6 days. And they would come in and clean that bone off and push the two pieces back together. They never did any stitching. But that was a big, big thing. And the time I got my tonsils out, they also kept you overnight back then in the hospital.
Did they give you ice cream afterwards?
Oh, yes.
Did they give you anything special afterwards?
They gave you a lot of Jell-O, a lot of ice cream. Here's something you'll be interested in. We did not have a bathroom inside. We had running water, but it was cold water. And you had to heat your water on the stove in a great big boiler. And on Saturday nights, they would pour the water into the big round galvanized tub. In the summertime, we had this little shanty on back of the kitchen. We would bathe in the shanty, but in the wintertime it was too cold. So they would put a clothesline across and put sheets on the clothesline, and you would be by the warm kitchen stove taking your bath in a galvanized tub. Now, to go to the bathroom, we had to go down the backyard beside the chicken coop where we had a 2-seater. And we didn't have toilet paper. We had a catalog. Want to turn it off for a while?
Yeah, we can do that.